Right folks, this bit here, this lovely part of the world I'm showing you today, it's called the Goring Gap. And it's called the Goring Gap because A, it's in Goring, which is part of Worthing, and B, it's a gap you see along the coastline. The way it usually is down here is there's just buildings, built up areas, shops, restaurants, houses, butchers, all the way along. But here folks, it's just a nice open green place and very much a gap. The Goring Gap, there you go. So I've got a good story about the Goring Gap for you. Yeah, a wee bit about its history. Very interesting history it is too, I'm sure you'll all agree. Now, the Goring Gap was originally conceived of and built by a fella called Dick Benny back in 1930. Now, Dick had studied up on a few unconventional farming practices before he came down here, saw this part of the world and thought to himself, I'm gonna create my own wee farm here, growing all my nice plums, because I want to grow nice plums for all the local people around here. So that's what he did, folks. He moved down. Dick Benny, the rough hands of a working man, but the soft feet of a child. But that didn't put him off. He was a grafter, folks, and he got stuck in. Started off with his plums, like I said, grew his plums, but being so close to the sea out there, folks, the plums took on a very salty taste. Now, they did have appeal. Some people really like that because some people like very salty things that should be sweet, but they had a very limited appeal. With a name like Dick Benny's Salty Plums, they just weren't destined for success, so he started concentrating on tomatoes. He did love his tomatoes, did Dick Benny, so he started growing his tomatoes out here. Grew them wee tiny baby tomatoes that you get in your salads, and also he grew the big beef tomatoes, you know, those lovely big fleshy beef tomatoes that you get. But his farming practice, folks, was quite unconventional in that he didn't segregate the big piece of land that you see here into different fields or anything. He just did what he referred to anyway as open plan farming, open plan fruit farming rather. So that's what he did, folks. He would go around selling his tomatoes to all the local people here, house to house, door to door, sort of salesman. That's just the way he liked to do it. He had one of those nice little trays that with a nice little attachment that goes around his neck. Put all his best tomatoes that he wanted to sell that day into his wee tray, and he'd go around all the houses and say, "Morning, I've got some tomatoes for you. Do you want to buy any? Look, I've even got my name written on there, Dick Benny's Tomatoes." And people would buy the tomatoes from him, and they'd really like them. But controversially, some would say he did start dabbling with different varieties of tomatoes, different varieties including those purple ones you get, and also the yellow ones. Heritage tomatoes, he called them. The world was not ready for them. In fact, some of the locals right here thought that he was dabbling in the black arts and in fact in league with the devil when he came up with this sort of thing back in the early 1930s. Dick Benny then said to them, I'm not into black magic. I'm just a fruit farmer trying to get you different varieties so you can taste and expand and broaden your palette of experiences. So, you know, he just moved on then, pressed ahead with his more conventional red tomatoes, big ones and small ones, so he kept that going and went door to door. However, things just started to get a little bit strange for him, and he became not as well liked as he once was. I'll give you a perfect example. He'd be going out delivering his tomatoes, and he'd run into one of his neighbours in the street, and he would say, "Dick Benny, Dick Benny, Dick Benny, where are you off to selling your tomatoes a day?" And he'd say, "I'm just off around about in the local neighbourhood doing all my usual house calls that I like to do to sell my tomatoes." And the fella says, "Well, that's all very well, Dick Benny, but tell me, why are you not wearing any trousers?" Dick Benny looks down and goes, "I can't believe it. I've done it again. I can't believe I've done it again. I've come out with no trousers on to sell my tomatoes," which is mildly irritating to say the least. Now, Dick Benny said, I must have checked them 2 or 3 times that they were on, but between that and actually coming out of the house, I must have been engaging in some sort of trouserless activity in the house. and then I forgot to put them on when it came out again, so that must be why it is. And in his defense, in Dick Benny's defense, folks, his favorite pair of trousers were made from a very, very ultralight fabric, which he actually had woven up in the hills by a gypsy woman called Susan, who was in fact a practicing witch, which is probably why she was able to create such fine micro fabrics back in the early 30s, before such a practice was quite common. So in his defense, like I said, the trousers were very, very light, and sometimes when he was wearing them, it felt like he wasn't wearing any trousers at all. So there you go, put that in your pipe and smoke it. So he would go around delivering tomatoes quite routinely, not wearing any trousers at all, and he did this for quite a number of years. Obviously the local townspeople, they got fed up with it. What started as quite a lovable eccentric move on Dick Benny's part became a thing that actually ended up having him shunned by the local community. We can have Dick Benny coming around here in his, in his underpants trying to sell us his tomatoes. Look at the old children. The children are getting upset. The old people are getting upset as well. So this has to stop, and it did have to stop, folks. There's no doubt about it. It did indeed have to stop, and stop it did. So he was feeling a wee bit sorry for himself, was Dick Benny, but luckily his uncle Humphrey came down and helped him out a wee bit. And he said, I'm going to build you a wee tiny house in the middle of the Goring Gap. And this is the wee tiny house behind me here, folks. This is the one his uncle built for him. He said, you stay in that house and just don't try to mingle too much with the people around you on the edge of the gap, and you'll be fine, you'll be safe. Hopefully you won't get lynched anytime when you're out doing your special dances out in the moonlight. He did like to come out and do his dances not only in the moonlight but in the daylight as well. He hoped that if he kept dancing for the big tomato god in the sky, that he would be blessed with a very bountiful harvest when it came to harvest time. He was still farming tomatoes. He just couldn't sell them to anyone door to door anymore. You do understand that, I think you do. So he stayed in that house for the rest of his years, really, folks. And he did go slowly insane in that wee house you see behind me there. Rumour has it that he did actually eat his fingers off his hands, believing that they were sausages. He did it in a day, which is quite impressive, they say. But even worse than that, he started to believe that he was in fact the offspring of Sir Walter Raleigh, and also that of Barbara Bel Geddes, who was a long-suffering matriarch of the Ewing family in the 1980s TV show Dallas. What the strange thing about that belief that he had, though, is that this being around 1940s, Barbara Bel Geddes was still a young woman and is still to rise to fame as the long-suffering mum of Bobby and JR. So how he knew who Barbara Bel Geddes actually was at this stage is anyone's guess, folks, anyone's guess. But yeah, he went out and did all his dances all around the house, all times of day. People would watch from afar, point at him and laugh at him. There he is, Dick Benny, Dick Benny, Dick Benny, out doing his special dancing there. But they'd be laughing on the other side of their faces, folks, because I'll tell you what happened after that. Dick Benny was never seen again after one night when everyone was looking at him. He just disappeared. He vanished into thin air, so he did. And he was never seen again. However, here we are 80 odd years later on, and people who live around here in the Goring area of Worthing will tell you that occasionally in the middle of the night they'll get a wee knock on the door, and the husband perhaps will go down to see who it was, and he'll open the door, and of course there'll be no one there. And the wife shouts down, "Who was that? Who was that knocking at this time of night?" And the husband would just look down on the porch there, just see a wee tiny baby tomato. It was Dick Benny, so it was. It's Dick Benny.